Welcome to Islamic Advantages. Today we're discussing the beautiful moments the Moroccan players have been having with their mothers and how this is very much derived from the Islamic teachings about respecting and honoring our parents. In Islam, the position of the parent, and especially the position of the mother, is one of the highest positions that somebody should honor. In 6 different verses of the Quran, Allah is reminding us that honoring parents is a responsibility of each single one of us. Let's look at a few of these verses. Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17, verses 23 to 25, is one of the best places in the Quran where Allah is talking about how we should be treating our parents. It goes as follows. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربكم أعلم بما في نفوسكم إن تكونوا صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا. This verse has been translated as follows. For your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him and honor your parents. If one or both of them reach old age in your care, never say to them even, nor yell at them. Rather, address them respectfully, and be humble with them out of mercy, and pray, My Lord, be merciful to them, as they raised me when I was young. Your Lord knows best what is within yourselves. If you are righteous, He is certainly all-forgiving to those who constantly turn to Him. In these verses, God is describing not just the responsibility of a Muslim. God is describing the responsibility of each single one of us. And God places that responsibility so high, and He repeats it not just one time in the Quran, God repeats it 5 times. And in almost all those instances in the Quran, God is repeating this formula where He says, first of all, only worship God, and second of all, honor your parents. The way that the verse is phrased, so that we can understand another angle of it besides the translation, is that we should treat our parents beautifully. Those are the words that are used. So, what is beautiful is much more clear than honor, and that is why I prefer to highlight this. We are sure when we see something beautiful, but honor changes from one society to another, from one culture to another. Of course, what is beautiful also changes to some extent, but there are some things that are instilled in us as humans that we just say it's beautiful. We can't see it any other way. It touches every single one of us. That is why everybody that saw those pictures and those videos of the Moroccan players dancing with their mothers, hugging them, kissing them, honoring them, it touched us all. We felt that that was the most beautiful moment in the World Cup so far. And you don't need a Muslim to recognize that beauty. And you don't need to be a Muslim to recognize that responsibility. So, as we discussed in our previous episodes, the value system in Islam puts submitting to God as the highest responsibility. Then from these verses, we understand how God is emphasizing that honoring parents, treating them beautifully, is the second highest value in the Islamic faith value system. This idea of honoring our parents can be found in many cultures around the world, and it is only in the modern world that this idea, this responsibility, has sadly been forgotten. This is unfortunately a sign of the end of times that the Prophet, peace be upon him, told us would come. We are not going to go too much into that right now. Inshallah, we'll have an episode discussing the end time prophecies more. But today, I want to focus on the responsibilities of people towards their parents from the Islamic perspective. In an authenticated hadith narrated by the companion Abu Hurairah, he narrated that a companion came to the Prophet and asked him who is most deserving of his beautiful companionship. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, responded, "Your mother." The companion asked, "Then who after that?" The Prophet said, "Your mother." And then the companion asked, "Then who?" The Prophet said, "Your mother," for the third time. The companion asked one more time, "Then who?" And the Prophet said, "Then your father." This hadith is a very powerful illustration of the honor that Islam gives to mothers. It's a very powerful lesson that cannot be forgotten. Mothers have a very close relationship with God's attribute of mercy. The word for womb in Arabic is derived from the word mercy, the merciful, the name of God. And that word, mercy, compassion, that's what characterizes a mother's actions and feelings towards her babies and her children throughout their life. From the Islamic perspective, the children cannot repay the debt of love and care and compassion and mercy that they received from their mother growing up. And they cannot repay the debt to their father either. So, going back to the verses that we read, we see that God is not just telling us to treat our parents beautifully, He's also telling us not to even utter a word of discomfort, even a sigh, or, blowing air when we're stressed by something that they said or something that they did. Even that is not acceptable. Furthermore, God is saying that we should be praying for our parents. We should be remembering them and praying for our parents, asking God to have mercy on them. Again, this is a responsibility of not just Muslims. This is a responsibility of every human being. We need to show our parents love. We need to feel love for our parents. We need to feel appreciation for our parents. We need to think about them fondly. We need to pray for them and wish the best for our parents. God recognizes how difficult achieving all this can be. And that is why, after telling us to honor our parents and show them love and mercy, He says, "Your Lord knows best what is within yourselves. If you are righteous, He is certainly all forgiving to those who constantly turn to Him." Meaning that God is recognizing that some of us, and sometimes we lose control when we're dealing with our parents, especially in difficult situations, especially with difficult parents. However, God knows that in our hearts, some of us, when we have outbursts like those, we feel bad. We feel bad about what we did. We feel bad about what we did, and we want to do better. And this is a constant theme in the Quran where God is laying down difficult laws that are better for us if we follow them. But God at the same time is recognizing how many of us will find it difficult to actually achieve those laws. And it is through His mercy that we are allowed to try time and time again to get it right, to be better. And this is the method that God has given us in order to better ourselves over time. And more than that, in the Quran, Allah tells us to show our parents gratitude. And this is highlighted in Surah Luqman, chapter 31, verse 14. It goes as follows: ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. The translation goes as follows: And we have commanded people to honor their parents. Their mothers bore them through hardship upon hardship, and their weaning takes 2 years. So be grateful to me and your parents. To me is the final return. In this verse, the same formula is repeated, where God is saying that this is a responsibility of all people. And He's also saying that first comes worshiping God. First comes worshiping God alone without associating other deities with Him. And then showing gratitude to your parents. So gratitude to God, and then gratitude to your parents. God, the merciful, the compassionate, He's the one that gave us our parents. He's the one that made it, that instilled in them the love and compassion that they have for their kids. It is something that is so hard to explain without actually going through the experience. But the first moment that a mother holds her baby and a father sees his baby born is undescribable. It completely pierces your heart. It changes who you are. It changes who you are on a fundamental level. It makes you a whole new person. These unexplained feelings and transformations that we go through to become parents are a mercy from God. And that is why in the Quran, in this verse, God is telling us, show gratitude to God. He's the one that gave us all this. And then show gratitude to your parents who followed those feelings of paternity, of maternity, of compassion, of mercy, of love, of care. Because parents go through so much for their child, and they love them and they want the best for them. But the reality is, if you ask them, would they rather relax and hang out with friends or take care of their kids? They'll obviously say, I miss having friends. I miss being with my friends. I miss having free time. I miss sleeping through the whole night without waking up for my kids. But they say, we wouldn't trade it for the world. We love our kids. We love having them. And it gives the parents meaning to their life that nothing else in this world can give them. So going back, it is important to recognize how Muslims have preserved this teaching and instilled it in themselves and their kids. You can see it specifically in Muslim athletes and other famous Muslims. They always honor their parents. This is something that is missing from a vast majority of other kinds of celebrities. When you look at someone like Khabib Nurmagomedov, he was at the top of the MMA world. He was undefeated. He could have kept going, kept beating people and winning and being the star. But what did he do? at his highest moment, after he's beaten everybody that they could have thrown at him. He said, I am retiring. This was my last fight against Justin Gaethje. And he said, I promised my mom this would be my last fight. I can't disobey my mom. I can't hurt her by stressing her out and going into more and more fights. Who here would be ready to give up their life, their career, their future, just because their mother wants them close to them, wants them close at home, wants them safe from their careers, risks? This is the honor of the mother that everybody should be following. But you only see this in Muslims. We have great examples for the world. The world needs to return to this. We need to stop propagating negativities about motherhood, negativities about stay-at-home mothers, negativities about women who prioritize their kids over their careers. It is a most honorable thing. We need kids. As a society, we can't survive without having kids to support us in the future when we get old. Yet in today's society, it is something that is seen as somehow silly and stupid. It's even seen as something that is hurtful to the environment. This is so misleading and so misguided. And what we really need to do is to return to the values and the commands of God, where He emphasizes for us how important it is to honor and show beautiful love and character to our mother. Finally, to stress this point, I want to leave you guys with a hadith that hadith scholars have considered authentic. It goes as follows. A companion of the Prophet asked him, I would like to go on an expedition, and I wanted to take your advice first. The Prophet, peace be upon him, asked him, do you have a mother that is still alive? And the companion told him yes. He said, then stay with her, for heaven lies beneath her feet. In this beautiful hadith, we get almost the same example as what we saw with Khabib Nurmagomedov, a man that wanted to go on an expedition. He wants to make a difference in the world, make a name for himself. He wants to serve his country. He wants to serve his community. But the Prophet, peace be upon him, he prioritizes him being with his mother than serving in the military. And just a quick history lesson for those who are not aware, Islam was facing existential threats for the majority of the Prophet's life. So you'd think that serving in the army would be top priority in order to protect their small community that is facing threats from all around. And that's just amazing, because you think the Prophet, peace be upon him, would prioritize the security of the country and would tell him, well, just forget about that right now. The priority is to go and fight. But instead, the Prophet, peace be upon him, told him, no, stay with your mom. That's the priority right now for you. And it shows a vision of the Prophet. It shows him as somebody that sees what's more important about life. What's more important in the long term? What's the point of fighting if we don't have people taking care of their mothers, if we don't have mothers to take care of? And the way to encourage women to be mothers is by honoring them, is by instilling these values in the society so that we can support mothers in taking the very difficult step of becoming mothers. So my message to you today is have faith and treat your parents beautifully. Take care.